Welcome back. It's turned out to be a nice night here in Daytona Beach, Florida. After the rains passed through, the track has been dry. Our NextEra Energy Resources 250 presented by Chevy continues with under 12 laps of racing to go. Do you think we're done with cautions?
No, I personally don't. Phil thinks we are. I believe we're going to get to pushing and shoving. You got some hungry race car drivers near the front of this pack. Ryan Truex up on the front row next to Kyle Busch. Joe Nemechek drives through that crash and into the top 5. Matt Crafton, we talked about him falling back. And there's Ben Kennedy and Ron Hornaday on the outside as well. So a lot of talent wanting to see what it feels like to drive into victory lane at Daytona.
We talked to Kyle before the race and talked about the fact that he's finished second here 3 times, and he said he wanted to be second on the last lap, but then a caution came out last year and Johnny Sutter was just able to go across the line at caution speed, and he felt like he gave one away with Todd Bodine. So it's going to be interesting to see. I got to believe he's going to hold on to this lead. He doesn't want to go back to second now. Do you think?
No, I don't see how you can. You can't give up any track position. You want to hold everything you got. And that young man on the outside of that front row, Ryan Truex, has done an amazing job of putting himself in a position to win here at Daytona.
That front row made up of the 51 of Kyle Busch and Ryan Truex on the outside in the 32. Johnny Sauter, Ryan Blaney in row 2. Nemechek and Hornaday in row 3. Kennedy and Crafton back there in row 4. Coming into the trial, but once again, green flag back in the air. Time again to crank it up. Brought to you by the new move, Need for Speed, in theaters March 14th. Of racing to go. Kyle Busch in front of Johnny Sauter, Ryan Blaney, Joe Nemechek, and Matt Crafton.
A lot of holes opened up on the bottom there, Phil, for some of those guys in the outside lane, and it really hurt Ryan Truex. He started on the front row. He's all the way back outside the top 10 after 1 lap.
He's got Ron Hornaday back there with him.
Oh, another engine.
It's the same one.
Yep, that's Travis Kvapil that went back out on the track, and it looks as though smoke coming out from that once again. He gets back to the apron. We're staying green for now. We'll see if NASCAR throws the yellow flag out. We stay green. Pack coming off of turn number 4. Single file line all the way back to 10th place.
Kyle Busch, that 51 truck. Johnny Sauter, the 98, hooked up. Ryan Blaney, that blue number 29, in 3rd. And how about Joe Nemechek? Front row Joe up in 4th.
A little bit of progress by that outside group there, Phil. They were outside the top 10, and now they've driven up inside of it. Hornaday, Busch, and Truex. There's front row Joe you talked about. He's so proud to be sharing that number 8 truck with his son, John Hunter. And man, is he doing a great job up in the top 5.
How about Matt Crafton? He was running 30th before the big one there, about 15 seconds behind the lead pack.
How smart does he feel right now? What about our man Norm Benning inside the top 20 as well, right with the lead draft? There's Ben Kennedy overcoming a problem on pit road, racing up there inside the top 10.
Kyle Busch, one of the tracks, one of 3 tracks in the Camping World Truck Series that he has not been able to find victory lane, and he continues to lead here.
Truex up to 8th that last time by, guys. Ron's giving him a good push. If those trucks can get a little bit more help, we might be too wide before the lead. Big push from Hornaday. Whoa.
Just about pushed him into the 99 of Brian Silas. Watch his hands. Watch his hands.
That is so poised under pressure. 290 miles an hour, out of control. He's able just to gently turn that wheel to keep that truck under control.
That outside line trying to find some speed to battle once again the inside line. We saw Timothy Peters run that high line and able to take the high line past the lower line. He's been the only truck that's been able to do it. Now he jumps out of the inside line in front of the 32.
Great call, Rick. Timothy Peters was waiting for that outside line to come. He knew he drove to the front once up there. He can't win from 6th place. He said, I got to give it a go.
I like his strategy. You're exactly right, Mike. He said, if I'm sitting here in 6th, there's no way I can win. Let's see if we can get out here and make something happen.
And there comes Truex right up to his tailgate. Bam, a push.
Bumps him once again. Bump drafting is the only thing allowed at Daytona. You can't push. Trying to get that run once again. He's going to get another bump from Ryan Truex. The 17 of Timothy Peters trying to make it back to victory lane at Daytona.
These boys are all over the place, Phil. Sideways, getting bumped, pressure's on the outside line, up inside the top 5.
6 laps of racing to go.
Timothy Peters has proved to have a good leading truck. He's been so strong when he's been out front.
Getting a side draft off the 88 of Matt Crafton. Timothy Peters trying to get that momentum back for the high line. Kyle Busch running the inside line. Needs help from Johnny Sauter to stay up there.
Up inside the top 3. He's going for the lead on the outside.
Ryan Blaney thought about jumping up there in front of him. He didn't quite make it.
Now does Kyle Busch have to move to the high line to stay in front of Timothy Peters, or will that outside line go right by?
How strong is that number 17? Timothy Peters' Toyota is running.
How about Jimmy Weller, that 08? Right now he's running in the 8th spot. He's in that outside line.
A big gap between 1 and 2 on the inside line, and that allows the 17 of Timothy Peters to get the nose in front of Kyle Busch again.
We talked about this being a 190-mile-an-hour chess match. What about that decision that Timothy Peters made? He said, I got to get to the outside. I can lead this race, and he's going for the lead on the backstretch.
Trying to get in front of the 51. Kyle Busch on the inside, holding his ground.
Whoa.
Timothy Peters side drafting off of the 51. Busch back in front now.
Almost body slamming right there for a minute. Boy, it's getting close up there.
Here comes Timothy Peters. He has the lead in the trial, but he drops down to the inside line. 4 laps of racing to go.
Now Hornaday's on the back of his teammate Truex, and they're going to try to continue what Timothy Peters started.
Here's where it's so easy just to get caught up in it. Looks like Ron Hornaday is right against that 32 truck. NASCAR will not allow him to push. He can bump, but no pushing.
Down the backstretch they go. Timothy Peters looks to check that outside line, moves way up the racetrack to try to block. Here comes the momentum of the 32 of Ryan Blaney.
Ryan Truex
up front.
There's the bump from Kyle Busch to Peters.
Kyle Busch
turned them sideways.
Got the 17 a little bit loose as they come back to the tri-oval. This time around, 3 laps to go at Daytona.
They can't make it, Phil. They're just too out of control, pushing hard, trying to get everything they can.
Now another push from Hornaday to Ryan Truex, trying to get him that momentum to get that outside line moving again.
Almost like Timothy Peters got too far in front. He needs another push from the 51 of Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch has said when the white flag flies he'd like to be in the 2nd position. Now Timothy Peters moved up to the track trying to block the 32. Ryan Truex is up there though.
You got to appreciate what Peters is doing. He's trying to block that outside lane. He is on the gas tonight. Made a smart decision to get the lead. Now he's got to try to defend it.
They're going to have a big run now. Ryan Truex has dropped all the way back to the 4th spot now. Johnny Sauter in 3rd, Kyle Busch in 2nd. 2 laps to go for Timothy Peters.
That's what Kyle Busch wants right now. He doesn't want that truck on the outside. He wants to be able to jump to the outside and maybe use that momentum from the outside line. You see him dancing around now. Thought about going to the outside that time.
Was that a fake on Peters to try to get him to wonder what Kyle Busch has in mind for this last lap?
Can the momentum come back again on the high side? Sure enough, here comes Ryan Truex in the 32. Timothy Peters has a truck length in front of the 51 of Kyle Busch.
What a push Truex is getting from his teammate there. Hornaday all over the back of him.
Coming out of turn number 4. This time by, they're going to see the white flag.
Timothy Peters is driving out of his mirror right now.
White flag in the air. One more time around Daytona.
White flag, one more.
Peters holding his line on the bottom of the racetrack.
Looks like Kyle Busch has fallen off of Peters' tailgate a bit. And that outside line can't keep up the pace right now.
I think that's what Kyle Busch wants. He wants to be able to. Now, here comes Truex up next, side by side with Kyle.
What a run for Truex.
Truex with another run as they enter turn number 3. He's side by side for second. Kyle Busch is boxed in as they come through 3 and 4. Now he's got a little bit of an advantage. Kyle Busch, does he have the momentum? Coming out of turn number 4, he makes the move to the outside. Timothy Peters checks him up high as they come to the stripe. Side by side for the win. It's going to go to Kyle Busch as he crossed the stripe.
Jimmy Willer gets turned around past the start-finish line.
A perfectly timed pass for Kyle Busch. And of course, we got to apologize, a little emotion there in the radio.
What an amazing run to the checker.
Boy, Timothy Peters did all he could do to try to block Kyle Busch. He had to give him a little bit of room.
And that's all Kyle Busch usually needs, is just a little bit of room. He fell off the back of Peters' field coming off turn 4. Got a little bit of push from behind, and that's all he needed to propel his truck to victory lane.
He said he wanted to be second when the white flag flew. He said he needed to time it out just right. You can't get any closer than what they just did. 17 1/1000ths of a second separated the two.
Remember, we talked about youth versus experience. We had 3 of our more experienced drivers finish 1, 2, 3.
You see the gap right there? I think Kyle got that on purpose to get off of Timothy Peters. Use the run to get to the outside of him. Timothy did all he could do. He tried to swoop over and get a push from Sauter for the win. It just didn't work.
Look how close the finish is at Daytona once again. 17 1/1000ths of a second.
Wow, unbelievable.
I love trucks.
I thought it was going to be 3 wide for a moment.
We've seen that before a few times.
I love trucks.
Look at that.
Incredible. That's what 17 thousandths of a second looks like.
About 4 feet from the bumper of the 51 to the bumper of the 17. Kyle Busch has been able to figure out his celebration a few different times in the Camping World Truck Series. This is win number 36 for him. Let's hear from the winning crew chief. He's with Bob Dillon.
A big sigh of relief from Eric Phillips. Kyle Busch has finally won at Daytona. Sitting up there on that box, what was that like?
It was pretty cool. He knew what he wanted to do. I kind of rather been in second than leading there. We had something wrong with our truck about halfway through the race. The guys, we made a mistake, but the pit crew and Kyle kept it up there all night in a spotter. Those guys, him and Kyle, Tony, are awesome together. But got to give a shout out to Woody, our truck driver. He's been in Halifax for the last 2 days. Get better, big man.
Emotional time for Eric Phillips, and let me tell you something. Spotter Tony Hirschman was like an air traffic controller for Kyle Busch.
He has the checkered flag. He'll jump back in that truck and make it to victory lane for his first time here at Daytona.